Every haunting has a beginning and an end, but in this place, one becomes the other. Step closer, the lantern's glow will guide you. What you are about to hear are true stories of hauntings all over the world. Welcome to Help, I'm Haunted. Hello there, my darlings. Help, I'm haunted. I've been haunted. I was excited about tonight because I'm going to bring you some things. And I'm sorry, I've got Salem covered, but it is what it is. Thank you so much for being here. It is Thursday. Can you believe it's August 20th at 7 p.m.? We are almost to the Burr months. And you know what? I like that because, well, I look cuter in the fall. That's just the way it is. I just feel that. How is everyone? How are you? I hope you're doing fine. Let me see this. I've been practicing with this, making sure. Now, you know, the other night when I did this little frog, I've been practicing, and maybe, I don't know if it's going to do that again. Remember with the storm clouds, I can't get it to do it again. Maybe it will. Thank you so much for being here. I love you guys. Tonight we're going to be talking about my experience in Fall River, Massachusetts, Lizzie Borden. And guess what? That's in the month of August is when that happened. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about Salem. And oh, I forgot a very important person. I'll be right back. Hi there. This, my darlings, is Poe. Now, I've had Poe. Poe is ceramic. I've had Poe for a long time. And he used to sit on set and on camera with me because, you know what? He's that cute. Yes, I am. Except when little Sammy was here, and I actually put him back here on the, if you can see whatever way. When Sammy was here, she hated Poe. And if I left him out on my desk, I would come out the next morning and he'd be laying on the floor and his leg would be broken and laying somewhere else. And I would have to put Poe in surgery. And then his little leg would have to dry, and then I would have to paint him up again. So in honor of Sammy, we're going to be bringing out Poe again. And this is the right time. So we're going to set him down here, and you just never know when Poe is going to be talking. First of all, I want to thank you for sending me so many gifts. I got another package in. I don't know. It's another folder, and I have it behind me, and I'm sorry. But thank you. I love them, and I love the folders, the dividers, and everything else. I just love it. It's so good to see each and every one of you tonight. I've got more stories to tell. It's going to be really something. And I'm going to try to take this season of Help I'm Haunted. I might have to have a break, like one night or something, you know, whatever in the 30. But we're going to try to take it all the way to Halloween. Halloween is a Saturday night, and we have 5 Saturdays in the month of October. Yes, the Burr months are almost upon us. I love it. You guys are fantastic. I got some really good things tonight, but I want to tell you what else I did, my little darlings. First of all, there's a new emoji for all of you members, and it is That's Bull. I think that helps to make up for, that helps to make up for the big book of Bull when I don't have the big book of Bull here. So there we go. That's Bull. All right, that's a new emoji for you guys. There you go. Captain Harris is taking advantage of that. Yes, she is. She's the captain through and through. And then, by popular demand, we have a disco ball. So now you can use the disco ball when we're having a little bit of dance. And I'm also going to tell you this. First of all, YouTube has made a lot of historic changes in the last week. I am so glad that I got the still case monetized. I'm working on another one, and then that's it for a little bit. But for those of you who don't know, whenever you use music in your videos, you can get it off of copyright-free sites, and that's usually what I do. But sometimes there are third-party culprits that come in through YouTube Studio, and they'll put a claim on it, and then they'll claim it on your video, and then you have to file a dispute, and it takes 30 days. Sometimes it takes a day, sometimes it takes 30 days. But in the meantime, it holds up your revenue, and they put it into escrow. And if you lose the dispute or the appeal, then the revenue goes to that person. You can forget that. I've never lost an appeal, but I can tell you this. I am now writing my own music for these videos. Pardon me, I have to sneeze. I hope I caught it in time, so I didn't sneeze in there. I couldn't help it. It just like mortified me. Okay. So now, my darlings, I'm writing my own music. And today, when it's time to dance, I wrote the dance song, and then I wrote a very beautiful ballad for when we go out. And from now on, I'm doing that. And if they want to lay claim, guess what? Thank you. Guess what? If they want to lay claim, they're going to tackle the girl. That's the way it is. Thank you. All right, Patty. Listen, I don't know if it's talent. I don't know that. But I will tell you it's determination. Because, listen, this is hard work. And I think a lot of times, the trolls come in, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do? Listen, just sitting behind StreamYard is what I use. It's like sitting in the cockpit of an airplane. There's so much going on. Holy moly. You can hear my voice is kind of scratchy tonight, but we're going to get through. We're going to get through. Thank you, Raven. I am. I'm conducting, making, writing, putting lyrics to my own music. That way, what's that song? They can't take that away from me. No, they're not going to. So you're going to see it across the channels. So you're going to see it in Vale Haven or Vale Keep with Lord Gregor. You're going to see it in this channel, the still case, and you're going to see it in True Oracle as well. And the reason I'm telling you this is that just as I got monetized, I put the big video up in the still case and somebody jumped on it. So now it's in escrow. So I have to laugh because I hope they enjoy themselves, because from now on, I'm putting all of those third parties on notice. You ain't going to get my music. You might try. No. All right. So now let's see, what else do I have for you? Oh, and for those of you who buy Avon, I did put a little emoji. I'm not going to show it here, but there's a little emoji there for you members as well. So let's see. I think I've got everything talked about tonight, and we've got people coming in here. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. The only thing that I have to say is this. For those of you who have watched the Lindsay, my background is backwards. It's not supposed to be. Let me see if I can fix that, because it'll drive me crazy. If it's driving you crazy, it'll drive me crazy. It ain't supposed to be. It's supposed to be flipped. Let me see. We're going to take it away. Goodbye. Look, there's a green screen. This is behind the scenes with Zelda tonight. And we're going to see if it, because sometimes it will not save them correctly. How about now? It's coming up at, see, it still looks the same on my end. I don't know why it does that. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll work on it later. Okay. Nope, it's not changed. See, on my end, it's backwards. Well, now, give me a second, because we got to have this right. This is behind the scenes, because what I have to do is I go in here to my images and I flip them. And that's what I do. Let me see. And let's hope that it doesn't. Let's hope that it doesn't, because you know what? StreamYard will go ahead and almost say, you know what? You made a little mistake. We'll do it for you. We'll flip it for you. Let's try this again. Let's try it again. Save background. Okay, there we go. It still looks the same. I am so sorry. It's flipping it on its own, and I have no idea why it's doing that. And it's driving me crazy. Well, maybe what I can do is this. That might help a little bit. You know what? I'm just going to change the background. Because of it, I don't want it to be driving you all nuts, because it'll drive me nuts too. Let me see if I can find a real pretty one here that's generic. There we go. There. Now, there we go. Welcome in. Welcome in. Thank you, my darlings. Now you can see, I'm going to give you a shot of what it looks like. There you go. Now, pardon me, now. Okay, we'll just keep it. And I just dropped something off of my desk. Okay, so now here's the thing. Back to, well, see, in StreamYard, you can put a background. That's what you're seeing all around here. But on camera, for me, why I have the green screen, then I put this here. So there's two different things. So that's the way it is. Yeah, if words and everything are not, you might have to go out and come back in. I've been having problems with internet all day. My apologies. Okay, my darlings, let's see, where am I going to start? Well, I think we may start by me telling you a little story. Good evening and welcome to each and every one of you. Please come in and put your thumbs, the DNA, on the like button. First of all, I was going to tell you something about the Lindsay Clancy. If you're seeing my voice and my mouth not together, it's not on my end. You're going to have to, you might have to go out and come back in. Okay? So there we go. All right, little story first about Lindsay Clancy. I don't want to get into what happened, is she not? There is true oracle, and I want to thank you, each and every one. Thank you, Mrs. Marie, for coming in here, and I hope that you go and watch her channel. It's in my community tab. Please go watch the channel, please, please. And thank you so much, and I want to thank my mods for being here too. Lindsay Clancy, the prosecution in Massachusetts. Now, that's what I have a problem with, is the prosecution. You know the prosecution that I'm talking about. Hello, I'm not a prosecutor, but I play one on TV. You know those gals? Well, a couple of days ago, Lindsay Clancy's mother-in-law, and for me, she's not an ex, she's still a mother-in-law. They put her on the stand. Now, it was the defense that called her, and she was very positive. And the CW, which is the Commonwealth, which is the prosecution, didn't like it. And then one of them says, "You're a practicing Catholic, aren't you?" And she looks and she says, "Yes." And she said, "Now, I cannot say it on here, but what I will basically say is, paraphrasing, you do know that Shemitah is a mortal sin." Of course, the judge stopped it right away. This could be grounds for mistrial. I don't think they're going to go for a mistrial, because this is just one more thing. Yes, my head almost popped off as well. But I have to tell you this, because every time somebody comes up with a crack like that, something comes into my head. And you know what came into my head? If you want to talk about sin, so is gluttony. So is gluttony. Might want to think of that next time you get that bag of Doritos out, chick. So anyway, that's it. That's it. Anyway, so my heart breaks for her, for the families, and hold on, now I've got to, StreamYard wants me to refresh my browser. I'll be right back. Hang in there, darlings. I'll be right back. Oh gosh, I can't. I've got too much on here. Well, we'll just have to deal with it. I'll just keep clicking it off. Okay. So anyway, you're looking at, instead of prosecution for justice, you're looking at persecution for their own personal needs. That's exactly what it was. Good. Listen, if I were on that jury, first thing I would say is not guilty, next. And then I have opinions about that too. But anyway, we're going to save those maybe for Saturday night, or maybe for the still case. Who knows? Let's talk about Lizzie Borden first. Welcome, welcome. Here comes some signs, because we're going to get signs or sounds, because we're going to get started. Are you ready? Here we go. Thank you, thank you. Oh, I want to thank His Grace, Lord Gregor. He's here for our radio show last Friday and the werewolf stories. You know I'm going to be digging into that, because there's more. Okay. So Lizzie Borden, in 1892, August 4th, Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her father 40 whacks. But when she saw what she had done, she gave her mother 41. Lizzie wasn't a bad girl. She did what she was told. But unfortunately, sadly enough, her parents won't grow old. That's really something. So in the mid 19 80s, I took a tour of Lizzie Borden's house. Now, my husband at the time was a naval officer, and we were stationed in Newport, Rhode Island. Now, I had a job there. I was the assistant manager of the Newport Bay Club and Hotel. Now, the one thing about the Newport Bay Club and Hotel, it is snobby. And that's okay. I can handle that. I loved my tenure there, believe me. And that's where tall ships, that's when they had the Boston Marathon. Everyone would come over and stay, and it was a complete madhouse. We were only there for a short period of time. We went through a couple of hurricanes. Joy. We stayed on naval base housing, because we weren't going to be there long enough to buy a house, get a place, get an apartment. I actually really liked it there, except people looked at me like, because I wasn't a New Englander, I was a Midwestern girl. And of course, I was the one with the funny accent. And lo and behold, I took a razzing, but that's okay. That's okay. The tall ships were beautiful. And believe me, the Spaghetti Warehouse, all those places when they were having the Boston Marathon, look out. It was pasta, 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 right? That was really something. Let me check something here. Okay. It was really something. They had a threat. Somebody called in. I always worked the night shift. I was a night auditor. I always worked on the books. I always did a lot of things, checked in. And by the way, that's where I met, oh my gosh, their names just went out of my head. Meg Ryan, when she was filming Top Gun. She was going home to Connecticut and took the young man, Anthony Edwards, with her. That's when they were dating briefly. And it was like in the 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, when she walked in, the first thing I said was, Betsy, because you know what? She played Betsy on As the World Turns. Yes, I'm from the 1900s. And she looked at me and she goes, oh my gosh, I haven't heard of that in a long time. I said, oh my God, I love you as Betsy. She was so down to earth and so pleasant and so adorable. Well, they checked in and it was about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm there reading. You've not lived until you're in a hotel and it's just quiet. And every now and then you hear a door. Every now and then you hear something, but you know, you got people there. She comes downstairs and was telling me all about this new movie she was in. And it was called Top Gun. And she told me about this newcomer type guy. She wasn't really quite sure of him. Tom Cruise. She was telling me how sweet Kelly McGinnis is. We had a wonderful conversation. It was just really like, I mean, it was not like she was famous. She asked me where I was from. I told her I was a naval dependent. That's what you are. You're a Navy dependent. You're an officer's wife. She was asking me things about the Navy. I was telling her. It was a beautiful conversation. They left the next day. Housekeeping came down, and here Anthony Edwards left his keys. So I sent them to her parents' house. That's where they were going. So in the meantime, I'm so sorry. I have to take a drink. I'm going to mute. Okay, so in the meantime, I was there one night, and it was during some type of festival. We were booked, beyond booked. People, and I'm going to tell you, back then in the mid 1980s, the top floors were the penthouses, and even back then, they were renting for $650 to $850 a night. It's clear into 1200. And they weren't worth it either. I mean, they were just a room. Hello, it was just a room. It wasn't any real big entity or amenities, whatever the case. But hey, that's okay. So people are in the bar, they're dancing and hooping and hollering, and we get a phone call. It's somebody on the other end that says, I was there 2 hours ago. I planted something, and I just wanted you to let you know. Now, anytime you get a call like that, it starts with a B. Don't put it in the chat. Anytime you get a call like that, you have to evacuate the hotel. And immediately, I tried to evacuate. I went upstairs. I knocked on every door. I called every room. There's an emergency protocol for that type of thing. I'm not going to bore you with it. I went in the bar, told the bartender, and told everybody, and they're like, so I called my husband. He was up there because he was going to start going to the war college, and he was doing some other things. Who knows what they do. And so anyway, I called my boss. I loved him. He was a Jewish attorney and absolutely the best. I would say his name, but I don't want to. But I'll tell you what, I told him, I said, we had this happen. And he said, evacuate. I said, I've been trying. Nobody's leaving. He said, what do you mean nobody's leaving? I said, well, there's one person that's leaving. He goes, who's that? And I said, that's me. He said, well, you can't leave. I said, just because somebody else is stupid, I'm not going to stay here. I'm going to take it serious. Didn't you teach us all to take it seriously? Yes. He said, okay, lock up the desk. I'll be down. I said, see you on the other side, brother. And that was the last time I was there because I quit. Because, you know, I'm getting to the story. So my husband at the time, Mr. Nate Popeye, I'll just call him Popeye because he was in the Navy. So Mr. Popeye, no, that's not nice. He, the officer and a gentleman, had about 2 weeks off. And he wasn't happy that I quit my job. We had already been fussing because I didn't start law school, because I was going to start law school. And I was going to start by going to Old Dominion and get some of my core courses and then go on, because we were going to go to Spokane, Washington, and there was a big law school there. And I said, no. I said, so he had about 2 weeks off and I didn't. And I said, look, I probably will never come back here again. So I want to go sightsee. He goes, what do you mean sightsee? I said, look at all this history we have around us. And you think that I'm just going to stay at home and cook? If you want to, you're fine to do that. I'll see you in 2 weeks. And of course, he was like, what do you want to do? Well, I said, I want to go to Salem. I want to go to Fall River, Massachusetts. I want to go to Bellevue Avenue and see the Gilded Aged mansions. I have the reason for that, and I'll show you that when we get there. And I want to go to all points around. And he said, does this have to do with anything psychic? And I said, yes, sir, it does. Now, this is before I was on the Psychic Friends Network. I had been reading, and I had been traveling around a little bit. And you can tell in my book, I kind of go into that story. But we separated, got back together, and basically I said, look, I'm going to go. You can either go, but, that I'm following you. We have to have something in return. There should be a fair exchange. Okay. First of all, we go to Lizzie Borden's house. He wasn't so upset about that. Now, then at Lizzie Borden's, they gave these tours, but it was few and far between. It just didn't seem like it was popular. And of course, back then, you didn't have all these paranormal ghost hunting shows and all this other stuff. So it was kind of like you went and hardly anyone was there, which was fine with me. We went in, and it's kind of smaller than what it looks in my eyes. Oops, pardon me. In my eyes, it's a little smaller. So as we walked through the front door, I always put my right hand on the door jamb. And of course, he's kind of like, I put my hand on the door jamb. Just then, across the room, they had flowers in a vase, and one of the flowers fell out of the vase and toppled to the floor. He didn't say anything, but they had a lady there that was kind of like the curator. And she looked at me and she said, oh, I really didn't know what that meant. I wasn't known at all in New England. Mainly it was Tennessee, Florida, a couple of other states, Ohio, but New England, Virginia. So as we went through the house, she was telling us and talking. And of course, there's the infamous sofa. And then there's the infamous bedroom. And we were hearing noises throughout the house. And she just kept looking at me. Now, there was another couple that was in there with us. And he just wouldn't even look, my husband, he just wouldn't even look at me. He just wouldn't even look at me. And I thought, oh, this is going to be fun. So as we went through the house, I heard some rustling, as in someone with a long dress. Not only did I hear it, but everybody else did too, including my husband and including the guide. So we're walking around, and we come around the bed and we look at where, the stepmother, I guess, the mother was on the floor. And I just kind of stood there and I said, that's so sad, isn't it? Just then a door slams downstairs. And she says, wait a minute. I had the doors closed. Let me go check. I want to go see. So we're kind of standing there. We're talking with this other couple. We didn't want to leave and mosey around the house because at that time it wasn't like it is now, where it's like, you get full-blown tours. And I think now you can even stay there, have dinner there. It wasn't like that at all. Finally, we hear coming up the steps, and she has this funny look on her face, and she said, none of the doors were open. And the man from the other couple said, I heard that door slam. And she said, I did too. I said, I know I did. So we just kind of, walked around a little bit, didn't say anything. I looked at my husband and I said, if you're not happy to be here, because we kind of held back. I said, if you're not happy being here, get happy. This is embarrassing that you're not engaging in this. It's embarrassing to me. And I've not done anything. I've not walked in and said, oh, hey, and at that point I use the word psychic because I hate the word, but what else? I mean, I said, I did not come in here and say, oh, I'm a psychic. He looked at me and goes, I know you didn't. He said, but I'm trying to figure out what all this is. He did not know what he was getting into when he married me. He kind of did, but so we go downstairs, and the guide goes first, the other couple, myself, and he is behind me. All of a sudden, you hear this falling, and he's grabbing onto stuff. He got pushed. He got pushed from behind. He stood there and he looked. And he looked at me, and I said, I hope you know I'm not doing anything. And it's your attitude. This energy doesn't like it. So you need to get happy and do it really quick. So he just there was a complete different look on his face at that point. So we get downstairs and we go through the dining room, and it was kind of funny because I don't know, many of you may not remember, but our sweet, famous witch that we all loved, Elizabeth Montgomery, Bewitched, played in a movie, I think it was a movie of the week, and she played Lizzie Borden. And they were talking about that and said that, how they did a little research on this house and everything else. And as we were standing in the dining room, and of course they had these beautiful carafes and all kinds of different things, like they had the table set. And I said, I have to ask you a question. And she said, of course. I said, is it true that they were eating mutton the morning that Lizzie did this? And she said, we think so. She said, there's been several reports, we think so. Now, my mother had kind of the same thing on, because my mother always collected, antiques or, something that looked like it was antique. And it was this, like a big soup tureen is what I'm trying to think. That's the name. It was a big tureen, and it had a porcelain label and a very big porcelain top. And of course, when you would eat mutton back then, there's no refrigeration. So most of the time they ate spoiled food. It's no wonder people passed away, and I mean, no kidding. And so anyway, she says, most likely it would have been served in a tureen like this. And I said, I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine. We left that dining room and we walked into another room and we heard this commotion that was in the dining room. So we're all standing there looking. And now at this point, my husband is standing there looking at me. And he says, "Do you think we're about ready to go?" I said, "Are you scared?" "There's no reason to be scared." He said, "No, I'm not scared." I said, "Okay, the tour is not over yet." So this woman goes back, the guide goes back into the dining room, and this porcelain ladle from the tureen had fallen out of the tureen. Don't ask me how that happens, because that's an energy grab right there. And it takes a lot of energy to sometimes do that. And the ladle was laying on the table, but the lid was still on the tureen. There was no one else in this house except for the two couples and this lady and I. By this time, I finally asked her, I said, "I have a question for you, my darling." She said, "Yes." And I said, "Do you have this happen? Jewel, my darling, sent me a sweet gift by Venmo for peach pie. And you can bet I'm going to do it. You can bet I'm going to eat it. Thank you so much." I said, "Does this energy, does this do this a lot?" And she said, only now and then." And I said, "Okay." My husband pipes up and says, "What does that mean?" And she said, "Well, if we have anybody that's psychic, or if we have anybody that, you know," and she was talking spirits, and you know what? That's cool. I'm not judging anybody. And at that time, listen, at that time, I did not have the education and I didn't have the experience. And even now, my darlings, I still feel like I have a lot to learn. Because when you're in the esoteric field, you definitely know that you don't know enough. And that's how it works, because just when you think you've kind of figured something out, there's something else that kind of comes along and you're sitting there thinking, okay, how does that happen? And sometimes you just have to go. Now, I can see some of you are saying, what is mutton? Mutton is sheep. Sometimes it's a bone marrow concoction. Sometimes they tried to make it like soup. And every time I have seen it, is extremely fatty. And sometimes when I've seen it, it attracts flies. And it's no. So, but we're always right, nurse of interest. We are always learning. It's absolutely it. We're always learning. So she looks at me and she said, "Can I tell you something?" I said, "Yes." She said, "When you walked in, I saw yellow and pink around you." Now you can imagine the man that I was with was going, rolling the eyeballs. It would be a completely different story if it were today, wouldn't it, my darling? And I said, "Oh, really? Thank you so much." And I said, "Are you psychic?" And she said, "I don't think so. But I'm comfortable with experiencing things. I said, well, you know what? That's really sometimes all it takes. So we were talking a little bit about that. And of course, this other couple is like, oh, really? Are you a psychic? Do you read cards? Do you read tarot? And I said, no, I don't read tarot, because at that time I did not. I read the playing cards, pendulum, the rods, playing cards. And I said, yeah, but we're not here for that today. Because I knew, right? You always know when you're with a stick in the mud. And hello, if you're watching this, you were more like a branch, a log in the mud, but okay. So anyway, we finally said our goodbyes, and she hugged me and she whispered to me and she said, I can see your husband's not too happy with it. And I said, guess what? He'll get over it. I left him once and I can leave him again. And she laughed so hard. And I said, I hope I see you again. And she said, I hope I see you again too. So we go out, get in the van, right? Pardon me. We go out, we get in the van, and see, listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. I am not a van girl, but I was very happy to have that van because we traveled so much and it was so comfortable. All right. So we got in the van and he didn't say anything. And I certainly wasn't going to say anything because, you know, most people went, what'd you do that for? And to me, I really didn't care. I got to tell you, I really didn't care. This was my little vacation. That's what I wanted to do. And I knew that I wanted to kick my heels up. So we went out to dinner. I don't remember where we went out to dinner. And finally, he looks at me and he said, I don't want to be mean. Now, I told him, before you say anything more, anytime anyone says to me, I don't want to be mean, or I don't want to be, I don't, you know, I don't want to be rude, but there's usually a big but that goes behind this, right? Usually a huge, big but. So I said, just say it, whether you feel you're mean or not. And he said, is this type of thing going to happen to us? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. Well, the reason he was asking me is because the next day we had plans to go with some of the wives and some of the officers and the captain's wife and to Salem. Now, look, I was just, no, Zelda is a Mercedes girl. Some caddies, either one is fine by me. But I've had 9 Mercedes in my life and I'm not done yet. So you never know what I'm going to have next. So I never looked forward to that. And the reason being is because a lot of the wives were credentialed, and rightfully so. Nurses, teachers, you know, all this types of things. Careers that, you know, you admire and you look up to. And then there's a senior officer with a wife who is a psychic. And that went down like a lead balloon. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to kick up my heels as much as I would like to in Salem. But if I had to get out my broom and fly away, I knew I would. So we went out to dinner. And, we just kind of I glazed over it because I thought, I don't have the strength. We went home next day. We got up. We go to Salem. And I'm like, yeah, right? I was like, oh my gosh. And it was cold. So we all met in the commons. I think that's what it's called. I think that's what it is now. That common area where there's nice and grassy. And we're standing there and I'm seeing people walking around. Well, the one thing that I wanted to see the House of Seven Gables. I wanted to go to the Witch Museum, and there were some things, but there was a shop there that was called Lori Cabot, who is a famous witch. Now, when I say that I wasn't on the Psychic Friends Network then, I'm trying to think if I were and what. I think maybe I was, and I may have misspoke, and I think that I was because of events now that I'm thinking of. Sorry, erase that part. So I guess I was. I just started out with them. It's a long time ago. A long, long time ago. All right. So now we're in Salem. We're in the commons, the grassy area. Loved it. And I looked at my husband and I said, I didn't know they would have reenactments here. And he just looked at me. And everybody else was looking at me. And I thought, uh-oh. So maybe I need to just not say anything. What I saw, because we were there, the sun was starting to set, and we were there. And as I was looking at the commons, I saw people dressed in period 1600 type garb. Not garb, but costumes. And I truly thought one of them actually turned and looked at me, so I thought it was a reenactment. Now at this time, and there's a lot of energy, a lot of that stuff loops. So I'm kind of holding on to my husband because I'm a little cold. And he was just never one for PDA, and I don't care. But I was kind of, and he was like, all right. So we were walking through town, and there is Lori Cabot. And this is why I remembered it, and that I was with the Psychic Friends, and I just started. He was nice. He just didn't like this sort of thing. And I mean, that's just when you're not used to it, and when you're with somebody that has abilities or whatever, the first thing you do, what do you think of? They must be the spawn of the devil. Well, he didn't think that. But he just didn't like it. And that's his prerogative. He just, he was an excellent officer. He was an excellent, he was a good man. It's just that it didn't fit in with a Navy career. And I get it. Just like that kind of thing doesn't fit in with my career. Because I will just sit here and tell you right now that if he and I were still together right now, he would be in another room sulking. He would not even read my book. He would not, who wants that? Oh, buddy. So we're downtown, I think. I kind of, I can't really remember because I was too caught up in all the wives looking at me. There's Lori Cabot's shop. And I said, I want to go in there. And they're like, and I said, Don't you want to go in and see what it's all about? And of course, my husband, I said, look, I'm going to go in. I'll catch up with you. Salem isn't that big. I can certainly scout out where you all are. Well, my husband, I did that, and my husband didn't like that, but I didn't care. I walked in to Lori Cabot's shop. She looked at me because I started doing a lot of commercials for Psychic Friends Network. Some of you basically said that you may have seen me along the line. Quite frankly, Mrs. Marie, that's how she found me, was actually on the Twix, the cross between Twitter and X is Twix. And she found me on that. I think it's because I said hello to Dionne Warwick or something. And she said, oh my gosh, because the psychic line that was affiliated at that time that I went to work for also was the, how do I want to say, the rival of Psychic Friends Network. So I walked into Lori Cabot's, and she has other people in there and everything, and she takes a look at me. Now, I don't know why she reminds me of Stevie Nicks. Don't ask me, but she just does. But I know that Stevie Nicks knows her. But I just do. I don't know why. As I walked in and I was walking around, she came up to me and she goes, can I ask you a question? And I said, yes, you may. And she looked at me because, listen, I am always if you ask my son, and I'm just going to time out for a second. If you ask my son if I am like this in person, he will say, yes, she is that animated in person. And I've always been like this. So she asked me, may I ask you a question? And I said, yes, you may. And she giggled and she said, are you Zelda? And I said, yes, I am. And she said, this is what she said, the great Zelda from Psychic Friends. And I said, I don't know about Zelda, but I am from Psychic Friends. And we were giggling and laughing, and I loved it. I loved it. And she said, what can I help you with? And I said, I need some help. She said, oh, tell me. And I said, do you see that flock of hens outside? And she kind of looked and she said, yes. I said, those hens are affiliated with the husbands of the United States Navy officers. And she said, oh. I said, yeah, you get it. And I said, so could you fix me up with a little package of something, some dragon's blood and some eye of newt and maybe a few little good things like that I can go out and parade. And I said, they're watching me in here. And she said, yes. So we went around the front of the store and we kind of were acting, like we were looking at things. And finally she grabs me and puts her hand on my forehead and she's doing all this other. It was all a movie. It was all a show. These women out there were like, and I said, let me pay for my eye newt. I can't wait to get out there. She said, pay. You don't owe me a thing. This is going to make my century. And that is where I got that expression. I said, oh, baby, let's go. I hugged her, kissed her on the cheek. She's adorable. Who knows how old she was? You don't know. But she's wonderful. In fact, I will tell you, I believe there was a governor back in the 1980s that, I don't know which one it was. Dukakis, maybe? Is that right? I can't remember. There was a horrible hurricane coming toward Massachusetts, and he asked the witch community to do something to get it away. Now, he was not very popular after that. But Dukakis, okay. But I just thought, somebody thinking outside the box, nothing prayer can help. But, okay. So I go out and I'm holding my little package like it was the Shroud of Turin, right? I go out there and I'm holding this little package and I go up to what's-his-face and I say, look at what I have. And he knew what I did. So he was not going to react. And I said, have you ever seen Eye of Newt before? These women were like, we have to go now. And I said, oh, okay, well, where are we going? And they just kind of stood there like me. See, they wanted to dump me, right? But they didn't know if they should, if they could, if you know what I mean. I had them right there. That was Petey. I was Petey Pinknose. So I'm like, oh, so I did it on purpose. Yes, I did. I was a stinker and am one like that, and I admit to it. So I was a stinker. And I said, oh, well, where are we going? And I start following them. And they were like, one of them said, oh, well, I've got to go to my car. And another one said, oh, and I said, well, you know what? When you all meet up again, you all have a wonderful time because I've got things to do. Oh my God. Listen, I always knew when I got in trouble because I got the silent treatment. Because you know what? If you really know me, the silent treatment, I don't like that because it tells me how weak a person really is. When you have to give when you have to give somebody the silent treatment. So he's standing there. And I said, well, what do you want to do now? He said, do you want to go through the Witches Museum or do you think you can control yourself? This is Petey Pinknose. Hello. He said, do you think you can control yourself if we go to the Witches Museum? And I said, of course. So we go to the Witches Museum, and that was very interesting and very sad. But you know how I am about museums. I always, don't you even think about it, pal. Because I always get this, and listen, it's just my gig about wax museums, okay? But I always just kind of feel like, I guess I watched that Vincent Price movie, The House of Wax or something too much. I don't know. Anyway, the Hammerfill, the House of, anyway, that's a pal. That always scared me so much. So finally, we got out of there. Nothing really happened in there, which I was surprised. Nothing really happened. But then we go out to dinner. It was early enough. It wasn't really dinner. And there was the tea room. And I said, I'd like to go into the tea room. Well, before you know it, there comes sweet Lori Cabot walking down the street. And they put it on for, she had a cape on that was just so beautiful. And it had brocade and all this other, and I'm like, oh my God, I want one of those. And she had this little wand with her. Look, that all of that is for the tourists, okay, sir? All of that is for the tourists. So now she comes walking by and she says, hello there, my sister. So mote it be. I thought I was going to fall on the sidewalk. She did that on purpose. I know she did. She says, pal, look, she says, are you going to go in there into the tea room? And I said, yes. She goes, oh, okay. So she was beating it back to her little shop. We go in. I don't think this particular tea room is there anymore. It may be. I have to look. So we go in, we sit down, and he goes, what is supposed to happen? I said, they're going to come around. We're going to have some tea. We may have a sandwich or a crumpet. Somebody will come around and read our tea leaves, might read our cards. We don't know. Why don't we just wait and see what happens? We're sitting there for a few minutes and the owner comes around. She comes to the table, and of course, I have my hands kind of on the table. I cannot stop talking with my hands, so who knows where I had them. I'm sitting there. She grabs my hand and she says, Zelda, I knew that you were coming. And I'm thinking, of course you did, because Lori called you. And I'm grinning at her. And she says, would you do me the honor of coming over here and signing our guest book? And I said, of course I will. And of course, I went over there and she says, oh, this is fantastic that you're here. And I said, now look, you don't have to play act just because the company that I'm keeping at this particular time. She goes, I'm not. She said, I'm not. We see you. I said, okay. So we have our little tea leaves read. Whatever. It was a lot of fun. She comes over and she says, I've got a question for you. And I said, yeah, what would it be? And she said, I would like to offer you a job. I'll pay you $78,000 a year, and I have an apartment upstairs that is vacant, and you can actually stay there for nothing as long as you come down here. I would like to have you read playing cards. I don't have anybody that will read playing cards here. And I said, well, I can't give you an answer right now. That is something that I have to think about. Now, I'm going to tell you something. This was in the mid 1980s or something like that. Now look, it was a miracle. He's sitting there smiling at me, laughing. And he's like, $78,000 a year. Well, let me tell you this, $78,000 a year was a lot more than what he was making as a lieutenant commander. So that's a serious, that's a good problem to have. So anyway, my darlings. So he said, maybe we can talk about it. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah, you know what? Maybe what we could do, instead of getting transferred down to Virginia again, maybe what we could do is he said, I could maybe try to transfer up here to the War College. I can stay on base. You could stay here. Excuse me, sir. You could stay here. Fine with me. You could stay here. And I said, well, miracle of miracles, what makes this to the point where I'm no longer the spawn of the devil? And he's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is a real business, isn't it? And he's going on and on. Well, I knew that it wouldn't be possible. And it was very sad. But as we left and he got to thinking about it, it was kind of like, sometimes men can't hack it when you make more than what they do. And then they start feeling that you become more independent, and that I was going to be staying there and I was going to be in a community that embraced me instead of running from me. Now, look, I am not that witch, right? But I embrace a community that has love for every walking life and that is not judgmental. And just like every other belief and religion, there are those that take it too far, and there are those that abuse it, and there are those that are not so good who think they are. So there's no judgment here. I just don't like the dark stuff, and there's plenty. Believe me, my darlings. And stay tuned. Speaking of dark stuff, I've got another video coming out you're not going to want to miss. That's going to be on True Oracle, and that is about that situation with Eugene Horsch of Philadelphia and the Olney area. That's dark. That's sick. I told Mrs. Marie today, I said, I think this man, in my opinion now, may be affiliated with some vampirism. And I don't mean that Hollywood kind either. So anyway, this was the man who didn't like it when I wore red lipstick. And, so we were compatible for other reasons, but I kind of knew that I wasn't going to stay around. So I didn't want to be so far in Massachusetts away from my family. So I felt the best thing to do was just move on. Have there been times that I wish I could have done it? Maybe, but not really. Not really. The lip color tonight, my darling, is Plum Blossom, Avon, Plum Blossom. That's my color. But I'm gonna take a break here, and I'm gonna show you what I'm doing, because when you go on camera, you have to do things so your face doesn't look flat. You have to highlight in certain areas and so on. Remember the pencil that I told you to get? This is the Glimmer, the ivory eyeshadow stick that has primer in it. Okay, this is what I've been doing. I just put a little bit of dot on my nose. That helps. See, you see how that makes me look like I'm not flat? But here's another thing. I want you, if you have this one, and I think they're on sale for like $2.99. I am Avon's best customer. I want you to know that was my intention to begin with. I'm surrounded by Avon and more coming. And wait till you see what they have on sale, including Christmas decorations, fall decorations, and jewelry. So here's what I do. And you can really do this with any highlighter, but I like to do it this. See, you put a little bit like this and watch. Just tap a little bit on your lower lip. Don't press your lips together. Just your lower lip. And it really gives you a very nice picture, profile, whatever. Okay, now back to the story. So we leave there, and the next day I wanted to go to some of the other popular places. We're talking about it. Thank you so much, my darling ravens. We're talking about the opportunity. We're walking past the Witch Museum again, and for some reason it was closed. And I don't know why, but it just was. I don't know why. All of a sudden, we hear a knocking in the window. Now, it was one of the bigger windows that was up on the side. And we heard this knocking on the window. We stopped and looked up. We had been there. And there is no way there could have been anyone standing in front of that window. There was no display. There was no nothing. This window was elevated high up on the building. And there's no way. There was just zero way. And I think it had some type of stained glass or something, and I can't remember. But you would look up and it would, you could hear it. And I just kind of looked at him. And I think that was a deciding factor of him too, because it was kind of like that. I went through this period in Virginia that we would ride down the road and the street lights would go out, or I couldn't drive the van or the car because it would stall. Too much energy. Well, no, I don't wear shimmer. I don't look good. I need to have a flat, but thank you though. I need to have a flat or satin lipstick. We went to Proctor's Ledge, and as we were there, he says to me, I can't stand here. Why not? I have this sensation that I'm going to be pushed. Well, I really didn't want to tell him what that sensation may have come from. Now, we were both from Ohio, and I didn't think anything about it. And as we're walking around town, and you know, there's so few little places you can get nibs and nibbles and everything else. And I really didn't get to have a souvenir other than my eye of newt, which dissipated and went away someday or whenever. But we went around and looked at these wonderful houses and the houses that were for sale. And, you know, my heart was just like, oh, if I love historical areas. And that's why I liked Virginia so much. I grew up in a historical home, and it was kind of this wonderful thing that I had. So the more that we were there, the more experiences he was having. Not so much me. I just saw the reenactment type stuff and was experiencing the knocks and that sort of thing. We went to the House of the Seven Gables, and when we were standing there, you could see there was a shadow that went by and there was no one there. And there was a lot of things, but he started to experience a lot of things. Well, I knew that he wasn't intuitive, and even if he were, and if he would have claimed it, he would have not accepted it. So we then went on. then 2 or 3 days later, in our little travels that we're having to all of these little paranormal areas and places, we then go to Bellevue Avenue. And that's the place where all those beautiful mansions are. The ones that were built during the Gilded Age, like in the 1930s and that sort of thing. And what home do you think that I saw? That, my darling, is the home of Dark Shadows, Barnabas Collins. That is the house of Elizabeth Collins. And technically, this is the house that they patterned it after. And when you see the opening of Dark Shadows, this is the house that they used. And of course, who do you think wants to drive in the driveway? Now, there's nobody, during certain seasons of the year, there's no one there because they travel so much, a lot of people that stay there. And a lot of these homes, like the Vanderbilt Mansion and a lot of them, they give tours when the families aren't there. So I convinced him to, let me put this back up again so you can all see it. I convinced him to please drive in the driveway. Now, this is Newport, Rhode Island. This is where we lived. Well, we didn't live in here, but we lived at Newport. And I convinced him to drive in. I said, it's not going to hurt. How many times do you think? So I go up to the door. Hello. We're here only for a short period of time. We're a Navy family, and I'm a big fan. He said, I know, Dark Shadows. And I said, I'm not going to ask you if I can come in. And he goes, that's okay. And he opened the door, and it looks nothing like the house of, Collinsworth or wherever they call that at Dark Shadows. It doesn't look anything like it. It's just that they use the persona from the outside. So I said, well, would you mind if we just walked around the grounds? Now, back then, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have anything. And I didn't think about taking any pictures. Who am I? Hello, if you don't have a postcard in a shop, I certainly didn't think of that. So we walked around the house. And we walked around this way. We walked around that way. And you could see, I just got that there was a lot. And he did tell me that there was a lot that went on in this house. It was built, I believe, in 1932. And there was a lot that was happening in that house. It was magnificent. I'm just going to tell you, it seriously was magnificent. And I took my time walking around too. He just sat in the van. But I took my time walking around. I wanted to see it. I wanted to experience it. And even some of those shots that you see in Dark Shadows, and I wish I could play it here. It is copyright. But we would be watching that together. And you can still, if you have Tubi, you can watch it. You've got to start from the black and white version because they have I think it's 1,200 episodes on Tubi. And you know what? When you take the commercials out, I would run home from school and watch this with my mom and sister. It was 30 minutes, but if you take 10 minutes of commercials out, each episode is about 19 to 21, sometimes 22 minutes. So these episodes go by, but it's like one of these things where you're like, oh my gosh. So I know you see the turret in the middle there. To the as you're looking at it, to the right of the turret, you see these two small little arches. That is a patio. And they even tried to replicate that in Dark Shadows when they go outside like that. So I'm just going to say that, you know, so there you go. That is really something. So as we go through, my darlings, I got back in the van and he said, okay, the time is over now. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, I think it's time, if you want to, you get another job. And I said, you're right. It's time that I do. So now we leave the Bellevue, that's called Seaview Terrace is what that's called. It's called Seaview Terrace. Give me a second. Now, for the rest of the story. Who wants to take a break and dance to Zelda's new dancing song? Put a 1 in the chat. We can take a break. We'll get some energy, and then there's more to this story. There's more coming. There's more coming. So there you go. Put a 1 in the chat. Shall we dance, my darlings? I wrote the lyrics to this song, and I wrote the song, and I have to claim that here, and it's in the description that I wrote it. So here we go. Get ready and adjust your volume. I'm going to adjust mine because I'm going to dance. I'm going to dance. This is good. Are you dancing, Your Grace? Okay. He's going to dance too. Get ready. I have named this, and you're going to hear a nice gentleman singing. It's not Lord Gregor, but you're going to hear a nice gentleman singing it. It is called Motion of the Night. Let's go. Go.
The velvet curtain rises on the floor. I see the rhythm waiting at the door. The golden lights are spinning overhead.
We've got Disco Ball and those guys. Members.
My shoes are polished for the slide and turn. The way you look is making spirit burn. Oh, can you feel the current in the room? A sudden spark of flower. We're caught inside the motion of the night. Everything is clear and feeling right. Ooh. Hey, the bass is walking heavy on the line. The rhythm section captures every sign. Your fingers snap exactly on the beat. There's nothing else that makes the move complete. The brass is calling out across the space. We're running through this wild and frantic pace. Oh, can you feel the current in the room? A sudden spark of flower in full bloom. We're caught inside the motion of the night. Everything is clear and feeling right.
Woo! It's some energy. Get ready.
Raise your hands up to the heavy sound. Keep your heavy boots upon the ground. The strings are rising higher than the clouds. Lost among the voices of
good, wasn't it? Whoa! Yes. I feel so much better. I hope you all do too. Thank you so much for dancing with me. Now, I want to invite you to stay to the end because I did write another one that will take us out. Okay? So I want you to stay to the end. And as you're saying goodbye, it's not done yet. We're not done yet. But when you say goodbye, I'll be playing this beautiful song. And no, I didn't sing it, but it's beautiful. Okay. Pardon me. Let's see the gifts because I noticed all of you have been giving. And let's take a moment because I want to acknowledge all of you. And again, let me check here. Beautiful Jewel. Thank you so much again. All right. Gold coin, little mama, look at you. I love it. Is that Dunkin' Donuts coffee? Do you know what I did? I'm going to tell you what I did. Look at this, the silver star from the captain. Happy poop. Oh my goodness. Aren't we happy poopers? I love it. Everybody's happy pooping. Okay. The flower, my darling, thank you. Hiding. That's an interesting little one, but I like it. Sunday, love it. Thank you. Floating heart. Thank you so much, my darling. A member for 13 months, Mama J's. Oh my goodness. Time has gone. Look at this. Kansas Granny. Enjoy your stream. So thank you. I enjoy having you here. Happy poop again. Aren't we happy poopers? Hiding, there we are. Paige gifted a Lady Zelda Kelly membership, and thank you. Welcome to the new member. Thank you. And just remember, if you get gifted a membership, at the end of 30 days, you'll have to renew it, or you take the luck of a draw and maybe you get another gift. But thank you so much for being here and enjoy the time while you are. You've got all kinds of little emojis and everything else. So thank you. Thank you. A member for 2 months. Thank you, my darling Jilney. Thank you. Nurse of Interest, you are so generous. Thank you, Lady Zelda. You have the most beautiful aura and the one that glows with kindness and compassion. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you. That's so kind. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. 2 jewels and sparkles here from our Carol. Thank you, my darling. And Aunt BB coming in hot with 20 memberships. Welcome to all the new members. Welcome. And thank you so much. Don't forget to put your DNA on the like button, please. It's okay if you're not subscribed, but please like, because the views matter and it helps to get out to other people that would enjoy our community. Thank you, Junior, and become a new member. Thank you. Thank you. Here is Stefalati, 2 jewels and sparks. Thank you. Shadows of Time member for 3 months. Thank you for being here, my darling. Here we have another one. Owens Jackie. I'm going to just say Jackie, okay? Thanks for being here for 3 months. Thank you. And Cynthia is a new YouTube member. Wow, love it. Thank you. You guys are always so wonderful. Okay, let me see here. Let me see if I missed anything. Did I miss anything? No, I don't think so. A lot of people happy and dancy. Look at this. Now there's some happy poop if I've ever seen anything there, Dar. I love it. Tom Jones. Kind of sounded like Tom Jones, did it? Yeah, I like it. I liked it. When I heard that one, I'm like, okay, that came out good. When you hear this next one as we go out, that one kind of got to me a little bit, because I always write these songs and then I think, oh my God, that got to me. Oh. You're being careful not to call out the old members. Well, honey, I love the old members. You guys are the foundation, but if somebody comes a new member, I definitely am going to acknowledge. I think once in a blue moon, the old members were called out too. So there we are. Thank you, my darlings. Okay, so now we're here. Poe and I with the rest of the story. Here we are. Oh, Angel's coming in with flowers. We got to say hello. Hi there, Linda. Hi there. And we've got Flower. Thank you, my darling, for sending that. Okay. Now Poe and I are here. Here's the rest of the story. So I got kind of a little fever hanging around the Gilded Age. And I'll tell you what, if you haven't seen that on HBO, I love that. I just get mad, though, at these series. That's what I just get mad. Because, you know why? You get into this series and it's like 12, 14 episodes, and then you have to wait another 18 months for the new one to come out. That makes me mad sometimes, because you're thinking, okay, anyway, I get over it really quick. HBO, The Gilded Age, you gotta watch it. So I got a little fever here from The Gilded Age. And the fever was, I walked around Seaview. That was the fever. I want you to know this. I've always taught manifestation. I've always taught you can do whatever you want to do. You can live wherever you want to do. You can go do whatever, right? You can be, but it takes work. Just like this here, it takes work. Ask my rice jars. I have a rice jar here. This rice jar was for my YouTube channels. And guess what? All is well. So even back then, I knew there was more than just, I craved more. So I thought, how do I get around these people? How do I do this? I started writing it all down. Yes, and back then I was a journal, writing it down. I want to live in these I want to live in a mansion. I want a big house. I want this. Nothing wrong. And you have these people who said, why do you want that? Shame on you for pooping on somebody else's dream. So he was one of the poopers. He was one of the poopers because at that time, I did not have a formal education. I started at the Edgar Cayce Foundation, and then we had to go to Rhode Island, and then we were getting ready to come back. And I mean, I always felt like I was the one sacrificing. Now that's kind of selfish because there were times that he had to go out to sea and could have been in a lot of danger, and I would have never known. But I've always felt like I was home, bringing up the rear. If we had to move, the gig, and I just got tired of it. So I decided I wanted to be affiliated with these houses. So what did I do? I saw 2 days later an ad in the paper. Yes, I read the paper in Newport, Rhode Island, for a Mary Maid. Now, I don't know if you all know that or not. Is Molly Maid, Mary Maid? It was one of those. Can't remember. They were in Newport. And it's a house cleaning service. And guess what? I got assigned to some of those homes that were on Bellevue Avenue. Obviously, one person can't clean a house like Seaview, right? One person can't do all that. Molly Maid, There's Mary Maid and Molly Maid, but I think it was Molly Maid that I was in. And so I decided I'm taking the job. And when I went into interview, she looked at me, she said, I don't think you're going to fit with this job. And I said, why? She goes, well, you're an officer's wife. I said, that should not, it's temporary. I want you to know that we're only here for a short period of time, but I need a job. I want a job. I don't need it. I want it. Okay, fine. Can I ask why else? And I said, yeah, I want to see in these big houses. She laughed and she said, at least you're honest. And I said, no, that's exactly, it's not about the money. It's not about anything. It's about, I want to see in the houses. I want to see what those are like. Okay. Well, before you know it, we start cleaning. And I had a very good partner, and she was terrific. And you know, when you sign up for those house cleaning, they teach you about 3 days worth of teaching you the right way to make a bed, the right way to do this, how to start. Treat every room like a clock, and you start at 12 and you go all the way around the room. You don't cross over and do. And the other thing is, when you walk into a house, one person takes the wet work, one person takes the dry work. That's just the way it is. Or if you're by yourself and you're there for 2 days, then you do the dry work one day and you do the wet work. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I'll tell you what, it was the best experience that I had when I was up there, because I learned something. It's a craft to learn that. It was wow. So I started going out into these big houses. And some of these people gravitated toward me, which I loved it. They would talk about things like tall ships, and they would talk about things that I never grew up with. So I knew I was manifesting. But here's an interesting gig. There was a lawyer that was in downtown Newport. Now, a lot of these homes in Newport, Rhode Island are from the 1600s. And they lean, for most of you who have never been there or know that, when you're in a seafaring town, the winds that come off of the sea will actually affect your home. So instead of a home being like this, you kind of get on the starboard list, right? And they're so close together that you don't have to worry about them falling, because they're tucked in there and they're built so well that you just don't have to worry about it. So we went to this one lawyer's office, this young lady and I, and he would get done for the day. And his office was upstairs, and then he had some other rooms and everything downstairs, but he would just go and leave and have his dinner and a few drinks and whatever and let us clean. We went upstairs, and of course, you know, your floors are crooked, your stairways are crooked. Sometimes you can't close a door, and that's cool too. But it was so interesting. So she and I get up into this 1600s home. That's what it was before he turned it into his office. It was just a home. When you got upstairs, there was a big room, and it had some doors that were off to the side. One had a little kitchenette that he added. Another one was a little restroom that he added. And it was just really nice. Never. And it was just really, really nice. So we got up there, and of course, he didn't have any of his files or anything on the, didn't have any files or anything on the desk or anything like that. And before you know it, we were on one side of the room and one of the files fell off of his desk. I mean, he didn't have them out on the desk. They, he made sure that all of his work was tidied and put in, all this, was put away so we couldn't see it. One of the files fell off the desk. Now, this young lady that I was with, they had no idea what I did on the side, and they had no idea that I attracted types of energy. So we just didn't even, we didn't even go anywhere. So at this point, pardon me, we didn't think a thing about it because we have a house that we're, like Mystery Hill, right? It's like Starboard List. So it just didn't bother us. Next, we picked it up, put it on his desk. Next thing you know, something else fell off of his desk. Put it back up. We're running the vacuums. Next thing you know, one of the vacuums comes unplugged, and we didn't stretch out the cord. We go over and we plug it back in. Now, by this time, bless her little heart, her name was Amy. Hi, Amy, if you ever see this. Amy was starting to get a little so we just kept working around there. Next thing you know, there's a hard knock coming from one of the inside rooms. We'd already looked in there. There was no one in there. But it was a hard knock. Now, Amy was ready to go. And I'm thinking, right? I'm thinking, sorry, I get that little twinge in my ear sometimes. And I'm thinking, holy moly. Right? I'm thinking, what is this? And I go and I open up that door. Now, give me just a second, my darlings. I've got to go take an aspirin, and I'll be right back. Give me a second. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. I'm fine. I just got to take this for this, okay? I'll be right back. Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, I'm going to give that a minute to work. Anyhow, my darlings, so I go into this room where all this pounding is coming from and nothing's there. I turn on the light, nothing's there. She's like, oh my gosh. Next thing you know, she's kind of not wanting to stay. We hear now banging downstairs. We are standing over by his desk, and I kid you not, we hear someone say, hello, in that room that nobody is there. And we turn around, and just then we see this faint shadow figure of this man walk into one of these rooms. I thought Amy was going to come unglued. And I told her, well, if anything, of any time that you think that you want to go, you can, and I'll finish up here. It's not, she goes, oh no, I'm not leaving here. I said, nothing's going to hurt me. Nothing is going to hurt me. She gets on the phone and she calls our boss lady, the owner. The boss lady comes out. By now it's about 7 p.m. And she said, oh, I forgot to tell you guys. I'm like, really? Okay, thanks for playing. So she says, oh yeah. She says, he's not here, but he said, we can't keep people here. I said, I don't care, I'll come. I'll do it myself. And she looked at me. I'll do it myself. I don't care. It's not doesn't scare me. And she said, okay. Okay. So that was my first job that I got on myself. Then we started going out to all these other places. And then we went out for a special occasion to the Vanderbilt home. And, you know, you can take tours of the Vanderbilt home. And they came over to us and they said, do you know of anybody? We're looking for a part-time maid. While the family is gone, it's off season, and we would like to have somebody just, you know, be here, take care of things. And I said, I'll do it. And they said, yeah, but you work for, I have no allegiance. I'll do it. And he said, okay, when can you start? Tomorrow. And Amy looks at me and she goes, oh my gosh, you didn't just do that. I said, I sure did. Because that opportunity came, and the months of the off season were perfect. It was going to be for the same time that we were going to be there, and then we were leaving. And I said, okay, I'll take it. So I went back, turned in my vacuum cleaner, turned in my apron, turned in my little thing that I kept all the cleaning things in. And I said, I want to thank you so much for the opportunity, but I've taken a job with the Vanderbilt mansion for their off season. And she said, I knew we were going to lose you. And she grinned and she goes, that's all right. You were a short timer anyway. I said, yes, I was. Now, the next thing you know, I report the next day. They have a Portuguese chef who doesn't speak a lick of English. There was, I don't even know what nationality he was, that didn't speak a lick of English, that was the groundskeeper, landscaper, And then there was me. You had the three amigos that we could not, did not, nothing. So we would go in there for our meals daily. And we would try to help each other with each other's language. And we all got along so well. But I want you to know that that Vanderbilt mansion, because I was only allowed in so many rooms, they had the rest locked. They were private, you know. But by the time I would start at one end, it would take me that long by the end of the week to get to the other, and then I would start all over again. But I want you to know, my darling, I had so many energetic experiences between Newport, Rhode Island, Fall River, and no, I don't have a Fall River accent, Proctor. I'm not like Karen Reed. And Salem. I loved that part of my life. And it was hard, but I loved doing it. But I don't think that I've had as many energetic paranormal experiences that I did, and that I'm going to say small nucleus. Now, obviously, Fall River and Salem and Newport, Rhode Island is it takes a minute to get to each. And then, of course, we were in Boston and so forth. But it was just fantastic. And the Vanderbilt mansion had some very scathing things that had happened in that Gilded Age mansion of about 1932 or so. People who would come up missing during that time, not people that would come up missing. People that have fallen down steps and never recovered. And that house, when I walked in, it was like, oh, it was like Lori Cabot did to me in Salem, only this was the Vanderbilt mansion. But you know what I got out of this? I was able to feel, because I'll be the first one to sit here and think, when I was upstairs cleaning those Vanderbilt rooms, I took extra care because I pretended it was mine. And I knew how it felt. And I knew that there was much more than what I had. And I knew one day I would have my own castle. I knew one day I would have my own prince, or maybe even lord. I knew one day that I would have what it was. And I don't want anybody to say, yeah, but Zelda, look how old you are. I mean, that was how many, 40 years ago? Look how many years has passed. Where, you know what? I had a lot to learn. I had a lot to learn. When you want something like that and you're dreaming and thinking on the big realm, you can't just pop in there, because with a big blessing comes big responsibility. And you got to make sure that you can handle it. And at that point, I just wasn't really sure. I didn't know where I wanted, didn't know where I was going. And I spent a lot of time in Florida. And for those of you who bought my book, I just want you to know, thank you. A lot of them have shipped out to you. You should be getting them in the mail at any time. Those of you who have ordered the signed copies, they're on their way to me. And I'm going to write, if you got a signed copy and I've got you on the list, believe me, I'm going to write a sweet little note to you and thank you. It's just not going to be, LZ, boof, go. No, because if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here. And this is all a part of it. Now, I'm going to kind of tell you a little plan. And it may not work out the way I have it planned, but it's going to work out. And the way it works out, it'll work out. I am looking for Veil Haven here. And it's going to be awesome. And I hate to say this, but this is the only thing that I can think of. When I get my, pardon me, thank you, my darling kitty cat mom. When I get Veil Haven here in America, I'm going to take you with me. You're going to see how I decorate. You're going to see those fabrics that we went through a long time ago on the House of Veil Keep. You're going to see those fabrics come to life. You're going to see the walls. You're going to see all these things. And think of it as, remember when Martha Stewart used to have her little, da, 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 da. It's going to be on Martha on steroids, because we're going to decorate, we're going to cook, we're going to do a lot of those things, but it'll be on Veil Keep. We will still be here doing the crime. We're still going to be here doing whatever it is we do, haunted stories, you're going to, whatever. That may come quicker than what we think. And I remember I talked about getting the websites, and I've put that on the back burner because I would rather, my darlings, I would rather do this for you. I would rather, because I know a lot of you are so interested in me, and I'm thinking, why get Veil Haven if I can't share it? If I can't, you know what I mean? Why not? So I'm starting to look a little bit. Veil Keep is doing okay. They got the bell in and then they had to send it back. That's a whole thing. We'll talk about that soon. But I want to encourage you. Don't let anything or anyone stop you from what you dream about. As long as it's okay and you don't hurt anybody else, which I don't think you will. No new channel. No, all the Veil Haven in America will be on the House of Veil Keep. So we've got that over there in Europe, and we have this over here in America. And the two shall meet. And we will dance. And we might sew a little bit. We might embroider a little bit. I mean, that's what episodes we're going to have. Aside from telling all these things about the 30 Years' War and castles and all this other stuff, I will be there, cooking from the hearth. We're going to go through the cookbook and we're going to do a lot of those things. When that time comes, and you'll know it, and our dear sweet Captain Jerry has agreed to help us when it's time to get the U-Haul, and Ian and the fur babies and I take off. And when we pull in, now I can't give you my address. I'm not going to. I know you understand, because I've made that mistake on Facebook a long time ago. And guess what? When I started having people knock at my door, oh, Zelda, we stopped over in New Orleans. We picked up some of these things that you might need. That's frightening to me. And to me, invitations are paramount. And so is privacy. So Lord Gregor and myself will still remain very, very private. So yes, Captain, I'm going to have to make sure I check her pockets on her way home because there may be a noodle maker in one of her pockets. I'm sure he's going to love Jerry. I can tell you this right now. I'll tell you what. Lady Zelda, will you still get a post office box when you go there? Do you think? Don't know, my darling. Don't know. I don't know. I'm so, because you know, other people have problems with because you know what, I've had a post office box before. I'm going to tell you that. I've had a post office box. And there were a couple of times that I opened up things that were pretty scary. And it doesn't really save you that much, you know? So I get it. But it now, especially, because I got to tell you, when you guys listen to the next, when you guys listen to this next reading that I have with True Oracle on these people, they're not even people, they're monsters in Philadelphia. Listen, I'll take the paranormal any day. That stuff doesn't scare me as much as those evil doers do. I'm going to be doing I want you to really gravitate to this story because the mainstream media is not reporting on it that much. Some of the people are. The newspapers kind of here and there. But this is frightening. And there have been women missing for decades. Decades. Let me see this. I'm getting some questions. No, my darling, I'm not. Just out of the state that I'm in. Just out of the state that I'm in. So no. Let me see if there's any. It really is a shame. And you know what? I really feel bad that I can't do that. But even though a post office box doesn't really even protect you because you can't control what people send you. And after I got 2 boxes of weird stuff, I mean like dark. I cannot take that chance. Can't take the chance, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I know, but listen, you know what you guys do for me? You watch. And that means more to me than what I could ever tell you. It really, really does. Good night, Suzanne and your puppy. No, I'm not going to move out of the country. I won't do that. I won't do that. I have too much going on here, and there's not internet over there. And no, we're not getting satellites and all that other stuff. Thank you, Hummingbird. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. So I just want you to know, if you ever have the opportunity to go to Lizzie Borden's house and look in the dining room and maybe even take a chance of being pushed a little bit, or you go to Proctor's Ledge, or you go to Salem into the Witch and you look for Lori Cabot and you listen to the knock. I don't know what tea room that they have there anymore. I don't think it's the same one. Think of me, because I think my energy is still there. I love that whole area up there. But here's what I will tell you, and I think Captain Jerry, we've talked about this, and it's nothing. So if I overstep my boundaries, Captain Jerry, you just let me know. But we have talked about, because you know there's the crime cons, and there's one in Florida next year. I'm going to try to make it. So maybe if you want to come to those, we can meet up there. Sometimes the paranormal conventions, I'll let you know if I'm going. If you want to come to those, you can certainly, yeah, there we go. Yep, there's Captain Harris. There we go. So yeah, I will definitely try to do that. Give me a second. Somebody said something. My darling, thank you for asking. It is healed nicely. Thank you. It's been enough time that, can't even really tell that it was there. It kind of like, I was like, whoa. So I will tell you, I'm not going to be doing any remote viewing over the cuckoo's nest for a bit. Because every time that I do that or get near that, but someone so kind in the comments, and it's to the point there's so many comments now, I can read them, but I wish I could answer all of them for you. But just know I read them. Someone said that after that, they saw where somebody went by the house of Nancy Guthrie's and the lights came on. And I can assure you they're not on a timer. It's the house energy. It's the house. Now, we may visit the house energy Saturday night. We're going to be talking about a lot of these things. Monday night, I may go live on the still case. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Let me see now. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, I see a lot of you live near Lizzie Borden. A lot of you are so close. Yeah. That's a beautiful area up there, right? I'll tell you what, some of the most lovely experiences I had, Lori Cabot and Anne Rice. That Anne Rice experience, woofy. That was something. And no, Lord Gregor doesn't stink. No, he doesn't. I wish I could have shown you that. I mean, it was like this, and it was horizontal across. And then it had the dot right at the top. And I'm like, oh, okay. Somebody wants to be a smart aleck. Will your new book be in store longer? My new book will remain in the store. It'll be in the store. It'll be in the psychic shop. It won't be in any other stores. I'm not playing games with publishers because they just play games and I'm not going to do it. I never knew there were crime cons. I heard of Comic Cons. Oh, yes, my darling. Emily Baker, when they were in Nashville, Emily Baker was there. This last time I think was out in Las Vegas, and the good folks from the interview room were there. I think we're going to see a lot of people. I am going to try to go to Orlando to the Crime Con. I am going to try to go. You'll know me. So I always look the same every season. How would you know me? Well, I still wear my hair like I did in 1978. And I always wear black. So there you are. Thank you, my darlings. All right, let me see if there's anybody. My darling, you live in Idaho. I've been to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, many times. That's a beautiful area. How about visiting Nancy right after she was taken until the police come? Maybe. That energy of two people are all over. I'm not sure where Lizzie Borden was from. Well, other than Fall River, Massachusetts, I don't know if she was from anywhere other than that. Anne Rice passed away last year, I think. That was a sad day. She loved her vampires. But, whatever makes your boat float. And her husband was wonderful. We'll put that little mess, pardon me. We'll put that little message up there for Ash. It is very nice to have all these people here. Are so sweet. I'm so glad you like this song, my darling. Well, not the book, but I can tell you what the vampires were. I was with, pardon me, the interview room was there. That's right. When I first started out on, oh, here we go. Here we go. Look at this. Captain Jerry, once again. September 24th. So we got another year. Lots can happen in a year. Give me a second. I want to make sure that I'm getting everybody to where they need to be and saying hello and everything else. Very good. We'll try to make that one. And if there are some paranormal conventions or whatever, then I get to go. I'm not going to fly all over. I don't fly well. I'm not going to do it. I mean, I think it was JLR or Shark, but I did see the lights come up, right? I didn't see it. I'm glad you guys tell me. What did that to your leg? Well, I don't know what energy it was, but, you know, she did write other books under another name and another pseudonym. She sure did. Let me see. We got to go as Zelda Nazer. She can come pick me up. Listen, I live probably 2 states north of Jerry, 3 states maybe. And she's like, well, I'll come and get you to go back down to Orlando. That sounds like a plan, but I wouldn't mind. Anne Rice, did she pass? Has it been that long? Oh my heck. Wow. My 4-legged baby is 920. Aw, have a groove on. So yeah, my darlings. So there's a lot that's going on, but yeah, that was quite amazing. And actually, the Mister and I are coming up to our 4-year anniversary of when we met. Because I was looking, see how I think about you guys? I was looking about content for you. I wanted to have a vampire on the show. And I remember, I said, you know, he's a vampire. I thought he was a vampire. I was looking for vampires because I just thought, wouldn't that be just cool to have a vampire on the channel? And I remember a lot of it, no, don't get near. No. And I'm thinking, listen, I'm less scared of a vampire than I am some of these people that, you know, are crazy. So there you go. We better be careful. We may have a whole bus. You are 8.5 hours. I can be there by lunchtime. Bless her heart. See, Captain Jerry. Weren't you looking for no, vampire. I thought he was a vampire. I was looking for it. Tells it in his book. He tells the story in his book. It's hilarious. I remember. I did. He didn't tell me any different. I just kept talking about it. He would talk about it. What do you think? I mean, anyway. How time comes along. Isn't it funny? We were thinking about that the other day. 4 years. And then, you know, I said, hey, will you come on my channel? I knew right then. Something. A little bit of sunshine wants to ride along. She wants to be a backseat driver. Oh my goodness. I'm going to tell you what usually happens on these trips. You think I talk now. I never stop talking. No kidding. There's always so much fun that I mean, I never stop. I love Lord Gregor's book. It is a fascinating. Thank you so much, darling, for saying that. That's his brainchild. I edit it. I hope that some of that, but I know that some of you are going to love my book. And if you haven't, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my book. It starts out when I was 14 years old. 15. Hello. It starts out when I was 15 years old at my grandparents' house. And I see something. And the police got involved. And from that moment in the book, for 10 chapters, it goes like this. Now, some of the things I had to fit around a little bit, but I wanted to share with you some of the highlights in my psychic career in search of people and my experiences. And it's amazing. My lawyer even read the copy to make sure I was okay. Because, you have to put disclaimers because people just get butt hurt, And I didn't mention any names. I changed the names of some. So he said I couldn't put it down. So that would be wonderful. We will be talking and singing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Susan says, please tell LG I'm really enjoying his book and I look forward to reading yours as well. I will tell him. I think he's probably here to listening. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I want to get your Lord's book, but I don't want to cry. You're not going to cry. Why would you cry? Listen, it's kind of a, I'm annotating this book and reading it over and over. Do you know how much I've learned from him about handling situations? That's what it's kind of, it tells about how we meet. And then it kind of goes on from there. And it talks about his life and how immortality has taught him. And it is amazing. And so you won't cry. You won't cry. It's fantastic. Thank you so much, my darling. Oh, thank you so much, my darling. Thank you. Thank you. An interesting read for sure. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you. Thank you. I think you're really going to like mine. And then what I'm going to do is I want to try to get moved first because I'm so uncomfortable about my recipe planning for the Vale Haven cookbook. And so I think that's what I want to do. Here we go. Let me see here, my darlings. Peanut, oh my goodness. A duckling, bless you. 900 joules, that's a lot, thank you. A silver star comes from Carol. A floating heart, thank you, Coffee Lady. Thank you. And Mom Bo, super sticker, thank you for your generosity, each and every one of you. Thank you so much. My darlings, I want to get a signed copy of your book, but I have to wait till I get paid. You've got some time, darling. They're not going to go out of the shop. Pardon me. But the prices include shipping, and I'll tell you, the shipping is what eats your lunch. Thank you. Well, my darlings, it's been 2.5 hours. This really wasn't a spooky one as much as it was an informational one. I'm saving the spooky one. I'm saving some spooky ones as we get closer to the Burr months. So just so you know, as September comes, I may take a Thursday night off in September because we're going to try to keep going until all the way to Halloween. So there we go. No, I'm sorry, he doesn't, because logistically it's just too hard to get him here or those there and all this. And I'm sorry, I wish he could. But thank you so much, though. Yes, my darling, the book is out. It's in the shop. So you can order it now. And the new website, I want to invite each and every one of you to go look at the new website. Mrs. Marie, I told her she's more like my agent these days. Pardon me. But it's a very, very nice one. So yes. So my darlings, I stay for the what's that first video of LJ? I cried for him and his best mate. Love that. He named the third floor after him. The bell tower after Beryl. The bell tower is after Beryl. He's wonderful. Lord adores you, according to chapter 4 of his book. More so than I ever thought. And he told me, listen, he told me something. I don't know. Let me ask if I can tell him. Okay. We're going to make a video. He's going to talk about his last video. We're going to talk about the bell tower because something went wrong. Everybody's okay. And then he told me something that I never knew. And I think it's because the 4 years have come up. But what he told me was, because we're, you know, the only thing that we're really not compatible on is the music. I'm more compatible with him than he is with, you know, hey, I can disco and everything else. But, you know, he likes the opera. He likes, you know, all this other. But, you know, when you're talking level 42 and Flock of Seagulls and Tears for Fears and, you know, it just kind of goes, eh. He told me that while we were still, because I would repost things on the Talkie Tick and he would see it. One of the songs that I reposted was Barry Manilow, Could It Be Magic? And he never told me. And he told me that from that moment, he played that song because of me. And after this last video, and we figured out, you know, what he had to do and all this other stuff about the veil, and I only, you know, because in the music there's the word, there's the name Melissa. Well, he changes that to Valiana. I'm like moved, seriously, because it's like, but he listens to that often. We're going to talk about that, right? Spirit move me every time I'm near you, right? But I'll tell you why he likes it. Not because it reminds of him, of me. I'll tell you why he likes it. What caught his mind is that Barry Manilow used the introduction of that is Chopin. Barry Manilow took that Chopin and worked that into that song. He recognized that right away. That was the common denominator. I'm like, oh my gosh. But see, I'm one of these that I love that about the Carpenters. Remember how the Carpenters would take these songs and they would put these, it was Richard Carpenter who actually started that movement of bringing orchestra into 40s or dance music or whatever the case, top 40 or dance music or any of those things. And yes, that's what I love about that. Why not mix the music? It's so gorgeous. Listen, when Barry Manilow was young, he was kind of cute. And even now, bless him, I would love to purchase a CD of Zelda original music to do house. Well, you know what? I'm making a bunch. We never know. I might just do it. We'll see. We'll see. Play your or the song of disco. Oh, I don't think he could stand it. Richard Carpenter is a genius. He is totally a genius. When he was young, played at a piano at his high-end restaurant. Yeah. He was really something. I remember when he started becoming popular. Love Mrs. Marie's website, right? She told me today she did that. I'm like, what? Oh my goodness. If your energy is still there, if I need help, can I call on your energy? Energy's where, honey? What you want to do is you want to call on the Lord first. You don't need to call on my energy, but don't worry, you're protected. Oh my heck, I love Barry Manilow. People used to make so much fun of him, but hello. My aunt and uncle used to eat, and I would go with him and my grandparent. Oh, I love that. Chicago Big Band with Top 40. Oh my gosh. There used to be a place in Cleveland, Ohio that my dad and I would go to every now and then when I was scouting around with him. I have no idea. But they had big band music, and they played the big band music. And of course, it was a lot of older folks, but I happened to love that. And I would get up and dance with them. And oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Of course, it's not there anymore because nobody, my favorite song is Moonlight Sonata, right? Oh, I love it. I love it. Love Barry, right? Neil Diamond. Isn't that the truth? There's the one song when Neil Diamond starts out in prayer mode is what I call it. Glenn Miller, right. And see, that's how I got into all that big band music. I got to stand up and sing one time with them on my birthday. They did Artie Shaw, remember that? Artie Shaw, Glenn Miller. It was Kay Kaiser and his College of Musical Knowledge. Oh, yeah. See, and here's the thing. I used to sit and listen to my stepdad because he was in World War II. And he said he remembered that Christmas when Glenn Miller's plane went down and how they never found him and how it was the morale. And he said the whole, like Christmas Eve and Christmas, they played all of his songs on the military radio, and they just played them over and over and over. Wrote all the songs written for Karen in a key of A. I can see that. My mom too, after Elvis, of course. Oh, of course. I was never really an Elvis fan, but okay. Beatles either. When I was in high school band, our band director always picked out big band music for spring concert. I love that. If you ever get to see, it's an old movie with June Allison and Jimmy Stewart. It's the Glenn Miller story. I could watch that over and over and over again. And there's another movie where Glenn Miller actually stars and his band. And it's called Orchestra Wives. And I'll tell you the one, I forget, oh my gosh, what is his name? I got a gal in Kalamazoo. Don't want to boast. What is his name? Oh my heck, I can't even think of his name. When my grandpa was young, he could play all the wind instruments and used to be back in the, yeah, see, my grandpa, it was string, banjo, guitar. We were always a musical family. Fox's Lair, look at you. Oh my gosh, how sweet. Thank you, my darling, for your generosity. Thank you, thank you. Don't wanna boast, but I of Kalamazoo, zoo, zoo. Years have gone by, my, how she grew. Da, da, da. On Kalamazoo, zoo, 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 zoo. Da, 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 leaving today. I have to be careful. Am I dreaming? I missed a. Oh gosh, I want to sing it so bad, and I just have to be careful. I'll get doxxed. Yes, 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 absolutely. Glenn Miller. No, it is who used to sing, like, I'll find out. Tex Beneke. How could I forget? That's his name. Tex Beneke. Oh my heck. Thank you, my darling. Leonard Skinner, absolutely. I love it. Absolutely. I love Neil Diamond. What beautiful noise when it's raining heavily outside. Doesn't happen very often in Arizona, right? There we go. There I go, my darlings. So look, it's time to say goodnight. I'm going to see you Saturday. Okay. Tex Beneke is the name who's saying, I got a gal in Kalamazoo, zoo, 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 zoo. Don't want to boast, but I think she's the most. And Kalamazoo, zoo, 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 zoo. You got to listen to that. His name is Tex Beneke. He was wonderful. He, if you ever get a chance, write down those two movies, the Glenn Miller story with Jimmy Stewart and Orchestra Wives. And Tex Beneke is in Orchestra Wives too. Well, he's in Orchestra Wives, and they sing Kalamazoo, I'm pretty sure. I want to say that Betty Hutton sang with him. Maybe not. Yes, my darling. How are you, my darling Jackie? I love you. I'll talk to you at 1 o'clock. I saw where you scheduled. Bless you. You hang in there. Opera 100%. Bing Crosby was amazing. I sent a message. Shop. I'm still unable to check out. I tried a few days ago. I left my email if you wish to contact me. Okay. Tell me, where is it going? Because I'll figure the shipping for you. Okay. So, and let me know if you want it signed or unsigned. So, just, I think she was supposed to, Jane, I think she was going to send you a PayPal link. But if you can, let me know where it's going to be going to. I think you said the UK, but if you want signed or unsigned, and I'll make sure that you're able to get a copy. It's Paul Harvey time. There you go. Old and have the best music. Listen, I think we do have a lot of the good music. We sure do. The music on WZLD we love. I may not do that tomorrow, WZLD, because the last Friday, when I did it with Lord Gregor, one of the songs in there, even though it was copyright free, flagged and somebody's holding on to it, and they haven't released it yet. So I'm just going to make my own music. And if they try that nasty stuff with me, guess what? So what I will do, because it's going to take a minute and then we'll schedule all of them, but he and I may have a little talk and fill you in on what's going on at Veil Keep and talk to you about some of the content. the werewolf stories, what happened at the Vale, all of those things. So there we go. Miss Zelda, when you were married, did anything bad scare your husband? No. No. He just, okay, I don't get the True Oracle emails. I don't get those. So I'll ask Mrs. Marie tomorrow, but she did tell me she was going to try to send you a PayPal link. So I know you don't have Venmo, and I know you don't have probably anything more, but for some reason, the shop store doesn't allow that to come through. But do you want a signed copy or unsigned copy? Just let me know. In fact, why don't you email me? I think you've emailed me before. Why don't you email me? And I'll pass it along to Mrs. Marie and see if we can't get the correct link to you. I know it's a pain. Give me a second. Make your own kind of music. Sing your own special song. You know, it's amazing when we get to a particular age, because, you know, I'm from the 1900s, that we can remember so many songs. Sometimes I'll be at night looking on the talkie tick with the mister, and a song will come up and I'll just start singing it. And I'm thinking, I haven't heard that song in decades. How can I remember the lyrics? There you go. There you go, my darling. There you go. Thank you. You never know. Good night. Thank you. Now, I want you to hang in there because I want you to hear this next song. What is the link to the radio you are doing on Friday? It is the same. It'll be the same on this channel. I don't think I'm going to put it on tomorrow because I am going to, if I have time enough to make the music, I will. But I only may have time enough to make the music and then make the radio show, but I may not have enough time to put a story with it. So we'll have to see how that goes. And then I've got another video coming out for the Crossy Chronicles. Crossy Chronicles. So there we go, my darlings. Okay. All right. So everybody, I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Don't forget, we're going to have the outro, and then we're going to all say goodbye to Sammy, and I'm going to play you this very special song that I wrote, and you're the first to hear it. You're the first to hear it. I wrote these two songs. You're the first to hear it. So I want to thank you so much for being here. I always have so much fun for you, but I always feel like we get off topic because we just like to talk. Anyway, my darlings, don't be haunted too much. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you Saturday night. I appreciate your support. I love you. And thank you to True Oracle. And thank you so much to my mods. You guys are fantastic. So here we go. Hang in there. See you soon. And so the lantern fades, but the shadows remain. This story may end here, or perhaps it's only just begun. See you soon.
The sky wears silk of twilight gray. The earth hums low where shadows play. A whisper bends the willow's ear. tales of those not here. Falling petals trace the air, they float like wishes lost somewhere. A fleeting touch, a quiet sigh. Falling petals and goodbye. A candle fights the breath of night. Its flame a dance, a fragile light. The stars look down, a watchful crew. Do they burn for me or burn for you? Time won't wait, it moves so sly, a thief that robs the wide. Falling petals trace the air, they float like wishes lost somewhere. A fleeting touch, a quiet sigh. Falling petals and goodbye. The river knows but doesn't speak. Its song is calm, its truth unique. It wends through grief, it cuts through stone, but leaves us one.